Good evening. I would like to call the Government Services Committee meeting for Monday, June 23rd to order. Roll call, please.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here. Here. Here.
Looks like we are all here. Looking for a motion for the omnibus vote.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Ed, seconded by Mark. Roll call, please.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Thank you. That passes. Moving along to item 5D. Good evening. We have an introduction to the St. Charles, Illinois Municipal Electric Agency Working Group and Consultant. Good evening.
Good evening. In attempt to provide you with further information regarding the IMEA contract initiative and continue evaluation that is important decision for this community coming up, Mayor Clinton Hall initiated a task force. Since May, the mayor, Alderman Bongard, Alderman Warball, Heather McGuire, Chris Adesso, and myself have been frequently meeting with representatives of the Tri-City Clean Energy Group, including Debbie Mader, Greg Taylor, Don Brown, and Charlotte Schumeyer. So some of the initiatives that the task force has and will be doing includes meeting with the IMEA representatives again. We are also meeting and learning from several power marketers. We're preparing a legal review of the proposed IMEA contract. We are meeting with local business owners and providing open communication with you and the public through the website and other means. So in addition, the task force would like to prepare several analysis related to this topic. So to do so, the task force felt it was necessary to hire an independent energy market specialist to help us navigate our discussion and also to perform these various data-driven reports. So we have retained Kessler Energy Consulting to join our team, and Shaw Kessler is here tonight to introduce himself to you and to also provide some information about the scope of work that he will be performing for us. But before I invite Shaw to the podium, here's a quick review of our proposed schedule. As we all know, the original IMEA contract deadline was April 30th. We did not meet that. However, the IMEA Board of Directors is considering an extension of that date until August 21st. We will know that later this week. There's a board meeting on Thursday to decide that for the IMEA board. Therefore, the task force has set forward with an aggressive schedule to present its findings to you really at the next Government Services meeting, which is just 5 weeks from today. That would give you a few weeks to digest the information, ask any additional questions you have, of course, discuss, and before taking potentially a final vote on this matter at the August 18th City Council meeting. So without further ado, I'll be here for questions at the end, but let me introduce you to Shawn Kessler.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shawn Kessler. I'm the owner and president of Kessler Energy Consultant. Thought I'd take just a brief moment here and tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a graduate of the University of Illinois and the Kellogg School of Management. I've lived in Illinois my entire life, with the exception of 3 years when I lived in Houston, Texas, working for a power marketing company. I resided the last 5 years in neighboring Geneva. I have 36 years of industry experience on both the retail and wholesale sides of the power markets, beginning with my first job at Commonwealth Edison way back in 1989, I believe. And most recently, before starting my own consulting business, I was the vice president of power marketing for Acciona North America, where I led all of our sales efforts for new wind and solar and battery storage projects in North America. I started Kessler Energy Consulting 12 plus years ago, and since then I have been working with project developers on wind, solar, battery storage, hydro assets, gas-fired power plants. I've represented and worked with some very large retail customer loads, some large steel mills up to 800 megawatts of total load, recently working with data center and crypto miners on procuring loads from 20 to 50 megawatts. So I have quite a bit of experience on both the generation side and the retail load side of the industry. The scope that I've been asked to provide basically is to take a look at all of your power supply options going forward starting today. And those generally include signing the proposed new power service contract that IMEA has tendered. Another alternative is just to wait. You have the option to extend the current power supply contract in the future, and you don't have to exercise that option until September of 2030. There's a third power supply option where you can contract with third-party power providers to provide basically what we call full requirement service supply. So basically the same service that you're getting from IMEA today, one-stop shopping. I'll be doing a little bit of analytical work and presenting historical power pricing for your contract versus other retail contracts and power suppliers in Illinois. I'll also be doing a qualitative overview of what your power supply options might look like in the future. You know, is wind and solar available in 2035 and beyond? Are there going to be power suppliers out there, 10 years from now? And I think most importantly, I'm going to be coordinating some meetings for you folks to hear directly from third-party power suppliers that could step in when your contract expires and provide you basically the same or similar level of service that you're getting today from IMEA. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions you might have.
Sure, right. Thank you. When you do your process, are you going to take into account that the present administration in Washington, they're kind of pushing back on renewable energy? Would that be taken into account when you do your? Because we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen. And I would say generally it's not going to be taken into account because we just really have no idea what the administration might be like 10 years from now. It could easily change in 4 years from what it is today. Primarily on wind and solar, what they're looking to do is not further extend production tax credits and investment tax credits for renewables developments. But again, this is kind of a short-term window. What I've seen in the industry is really the cat is out of the bag. The government is not really driving renewables development now. It's corporates, it's consumers, it's municipalities and cooperatives. We all want greener, cleaner energy going forward, and that's really what's driving the market these days, more so than any federal or state regulations.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sean, what's your experience with coal-powered plants? You mentioned gas-powered?
Yeah, I've actually been in the Prairie State power plant. I've been in the coal mine at Prairie State. When Prairie State was being developed, I was working for a power marketer, and we had an interest in potentially buying a stake in the project or taking offtake from it. So I'm fairly familiar with Prairie State plant itself. I just recently ended a 5-year engagement with one of my clients who has a coal plant in Arkansas, so I was selling power and capacity off of that power plant in Arkansas. Worked for ComEd for 10 years where when I was on the wholesale side of the business there, I was selling call options and power supply off the coal fleet of ComEd.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Just curious what the timeline is for the report. Sorry if I missed it in the...
Yeah, the report has to be presented, I believe, is it July 28th?
Next government services.
Yep. So just around the corner, about 5 weeks from now.
And that will include weighing pros and cons of different options and a recommendation?
Yes. And I'm happy to include my personal Kessler Energy consulting recommendations if you want those. My goal is to be non-biased and present both sides of the story, but I'd be more than happy to present those recommendations as well.
You just answered my question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, so Pete, Sean, can we go back to the timeline? So your report is going to be given to this group in time for the next government services meeting, but we're also expected to have a preliminary vote at that same meeting for...
No, I don't think it will work that way. I think we have about 3 more weeks after that to really make a decision if the IMEA extension goes to August 22nd or so. So what it probably looks like is a government services present the information only, no action needed. And then there are 2 additional committee meetings before the city council meeting on August 21st. So I think it probably, if we were to stay with that time schedule, looks like a discussion and maybe a first vote at one of those committee meetings in early August, and then a final city council vote on August 21st, again, if we stick to that schedule.
So I just make sure we all heard the same thing.
And just to clarify, I think the idea behind that was because the formal presentation by Sean will be given at that meeting. We want to give council time to digest everything in there before we ask for a vote on that, which is why it would be pushed out to a future committee meeting.
But I just want to make sure that everybody hears that same timeline so they know what they're looking at for the next, 6-7 weeks. Sorry, go ahead.
Peter, are you pretty confident they are going to have that extension at this point? I know the meeting's Thursday, but we're putting a lot of eggs into the basket that it is happening, because if it doesn't, then where are we?
Yeah, I'm not confident. I don't know. There's 32 communities that vote on this. It needs a majority vote. We will see. Our mayor is going to be attending that board meeting with me, and I think is going to provide some words during public comment, which is a little different than here. We do public comment at the beginning of the meeting at our IMEA board. So I do appreciate that and thank the mayor for taking a trip down to Springfield, but we'll see how the vote comes out. But what I would say that if you're asking my opinion, I think that even if it doesn't pass and that extension isn't approved by the board, the sooner we can get IMEA a decision, the better. So I would suggest trying to maintain that schedule or as close to it, and get in front of IMEA as soon as we can with a positive or negative recommendation on their contract.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. So a couple different things. One is Peter did an excellent job of summarizing the work that everybody's been doing, but we have members of our clean energy group that are here in the audience, and I just want to publicly thank them for the commitment that they've made. As you can tell, we have an aggressive timeline. Peter explained why, but that group has been working for the last 3 or 4 weeks already, very, very hard. I've talked to Heather and Peter and staff. They understand the priority that we're placing this, and so when we've talked about prioritizing staff time and our time, this is at the top of the list. Heather and Peter have a lot to do every day, but what we've talked about is the importance of this decision, and there is a lot of work ahead of us, but they're prepared for that, and they understand what we're going to do, and we're going to work, obviously, with the consultant to make sure that we get you what you want and what you need. So just like Chairman Bongard said, the most important thing, I think, from our perspective is that if there are any questions, any concerns, any information, anything that you need, now is the time to tell us, because the committee is going to be, we're meeting every Tuesday. I think there'll probably be more meetings, but at the end of the day, I just want to make sure that, again, I want to thank everybody that's on the committee. I want to thank you in advance for getting us the information, and just know that we understand we have this aggressive timeline, but we're going to do it. I have absolute confidence in staff and in our consultant that we're going to get the information that we need to you by July 28th for you to make that first, get the information and then be able to make an informed decision.
Yeah, thank you to the committee also. We certainly appreciate all the work you're doing to raise a thoughtful conversation on these issues. Just another process question. If the IMEA says no to our request for an extension, then what are we doing? Sorry, I don't know. And do we just proceed with our plan to wait for the consultant's recommendation?
If the IMEA board says no to the extension, then what that really means is that we've been calling it the open season for the contract, is then officially closed. And it would have closed on June 30th, right? So that date holds. So what happens after that is really unknown. At some point in time, whether it's 1 month later or 5 years later or 7 years later, if St. Charles is ready to go back to IMEA and ask them to be part of IMEA at that point in time, then we can We can choose to do that, and it will be completely up to IMEA to decide whether they will say yes to that or no to that decision.
So if I can just chime in from this committee standpoint, if that were to happen, my recommendation would be to continue to let this process play out, because we would be on our own timeline, and, you know, we would approach IMEA if that would be the recommendation, you know, down the line. We will continue to go through our process even today.
Thank you. Thank you for this information. So following the July 28th presentation, will we have the opportunity to follow up with the consultant when we have questions, if there's things that we need to clarify? Will we have the opportunity to, either in writing or in a presentation before we have any vote, to ask those questions or get clarifying information?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
No? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Moving on, item 5E, we're looking for a recommendation to approve a resolution to locally fund the Prairie Street resurfacing project. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Prairie Street's been a object of a lot of discussion lately, so I'd like to give a quick overview of where the project's at and make a recommendation for what the future of the project could be. In 2020, we were awarded a grant through the STP LAFO program to resurface Prairie Street between Randall Road and 13th Street. This is a federally funded grant, and the way the STP LAFO works is that IDOT administers the grant, IDOT bids out the contract, they sign the contract with the low bid contractor, they pay the contractor, and then they send us an invoice for our portion of the work. So we bid out this contract on March 7th with Builders Asphalt as the lowest responsible bidder. And they are the contractor that is currently out on the streets right now doing our summer roadway program. After a number of weeks of this project not moving forward through the IDOT website, we started reaching out to IDOT, and through a number of conversations have come to understand that IDOT is not awarding projects to Builders Asphalt that involve federal funds. They will not comment as to why they will not award these projects, but it is projects specifically tied to federal funding, and Builders has not received an award of a contract from IDOT since August of last year. So they have a number of contracts just sitting in the holding pattern, just like our contract is. Again, this is specifically dealing with federal funds. We have motor fuel tax funds that go through IDOT on our roadway program. That got awarded, and Builders is still IDOT pre-qualified to bid. And so it's not a matter of can they perform the work, but it's something internally at IDOT tied to federal funding. So we reached out to IDOT and asked, can we move on to the second low bidder, since the first low bidder is currently tied up and can't move. We were told that no, until they finish their review and get through whatever this process is, they cannot go to the second low bidder. They gave us the option of rebidding the project through IDOT in either the August or September lettings, but we had three major concerns with that. The first being that we got very good prices back in March because we were early in the season, and we may not get those low prices again at this time of year. Second, Builders is still pre-qualified to bid, and so they could win the project, they could be the low bidder, and we could end up in the exact same spot as we are right now. And the third concern was the timeline. We don't have confidence that the speed that IDOT awards projects gets them going, that we would actually be able to finish the project this year anyway if we rebid. So that leaves us with, as we see it, two viable options. The first is to continue maintaining Prairie Street as we're doing and wait out IDOT until we see how this process is resolved. And the second is to decide to fund the project using local funds and forego the grant money. So in terms of continued maintenance, the road is structurally sound. It's terrible to drive on. Everybody understands that. We all agree on that. But the road is structurally sound, and with additional maintenance, additional sweeping, pothole patching, that sort of thing, we can limp through another winter. It will be unpleasant, but we can make it. It'll also take a little bit of extra staff time dealing on your parts and Public Works parts, dealing with resident concerns and just making sure the road is maintained. The upside to this is that it gives us the access to the grants, which may be released later this year, may be released in spring of next year. We have no idea, and again, IDOT won't comment on that. The other option is rejecting the grant money, foregoing that payment, and working with the low bidder that we already have. I've reached out to Builders Asphalt, and they are willing to honor the prices that they put out in the competitive bid back in March, and honor those prices if we decide to do the road using local funding. So the SDP grant was supposed to cover 75% of this project, or just north of $415,000. We budgeted $390,000 to cover our construction expenses and the construction engineering portion of the project. Construction engineering was going to be $97,000. Without IDOT's involvement on the project, we would be able to cover this in-house. IDOT requires a significant amount of extra inspection, extra paperwork that was just going to be too cumbersome for our engineering team. But without IDOT's involvement, we can waive that. That still leaves us with $163,000 of shortfall. That money, talking with Mr. Hanna, would be coming out of the home rule tax funds and would come off of what would be otherwise done in next year's program. So, as I said in my executive summary, based on the maintenance, based on the condition of the road, based on the public concerns that we have heard, I'm here to recommend that we fund the road locally to make sure that it can get done this construction season. Builders is amenable to doing it, and they will prioritize the project. We'll get it going as soon as possible and make sure that we get it done. It would probably be early September would be the timeline that we could work towards. But clearly this decision involves a lot of money, and the council has been trusted to make the best decision for the city for what to do with the funds that benefit the whole city. And so while I'm happy to answer questions, I will defer to you for direction as to how we should proceed with this project.
Thank you. I want to thank you for looking into all these different options. I know that this is a frustrating situation for everyone driving down the street. I have a comment and then a question. So my comment is just that I would have hoped that we would have had more information come out to the public about the condition of the road and the reasons why it has taken so long sooner than it did, because it seems like that has caused more consternation with the public than needed to happen. So I hope that we can learn from that situation, that for the future we're more communicative with people about why delays happen. But I guess my question here is, have we reached out to our state representative and our state senator who have an office in St. Charles right down the street and asked, since they're both on transportation committees, if they can help us in understanding what the timing is and what the barriers are and what things they could do for us as their constituents? And I guess have staff reached out to council members who have relationships with those people to try and help from a legislative perspective before dipping into the money that the city uses for our projects that are not grant funded?
At this time, our conversations have been with IDOT and also with the local council of mayors. And like I said, IDOT's playing it incredibly close to the vest. This is part of why we didn't give any information previously, is IDOT still has not even told us as much information as I've been able to give you. They're not informing us of anything, but we know that there is a lawsuit involving builders on which they will not comment. And so until there's a legal resolution to that, I don't see that anybody's going to be able to step in and move the project forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Has this ever happened before, that we've had this problem not getting money that we were promised?
To the best of my knowledge and my experience, no. And the people I've talked to said this is a fairly unique occurrence here.
So does IDOT have the money, or does Washington still have the money? I'm just curious if you know.
I do not know who is holding the money. I would assume IDOT has it, but that is me speculating at this point.
Okay. Are there any other road projects that we are using this contractor for that may be impacted by this.
No, they are doing our MFT program, and there was a moment where we were concerned that it might be impacted, but the IDOT signed all the documents, and that project is moving forward. So this is the only project in St. Charles.
Is this a specific concern with this contractor, right?
It's specific to this contractor and specific to federal money, is our understanding.
Okay, thank you.
So you have no idea when this would get approved? It's like an unknown? It could be 6 months, 2 years?
Correct. Like I said,
You have no idea, really?
No idea. Elgin has a project that's been sitting for this reason since November of last year, and when you ask IDOT, their only response is it's currently under review.
And then the other question is, you cited maintenance, ongoing maintenance, which there's a cost to that, right? Going out there, patching, redoing, labor, snow plow blades that you're talking about in here. So there's a cost to that as well. And so this, we're looking at $163,998. Is that what we would be approving tonight, that amount?
So if we're approving tonight, we're approving a contract with builders for the full $554,000.
Okay.
And so that 163 is the difference between what we had budgeted for construction and for construction engineering. It's the difference between that value and the actual construction contract, with the understanding that now I will be running the project instead of a different engineer.
Okay, so if we leave it alone, it's not going to get better. It's just going to keep getting worse over a period of time.
Correct.
Because it's not the proper material that's on the ground.
Correct, and Prairie was in poor shape before all of the construction took place as well, and construction, ditched the road further, but that was fine under the understanding that we were supposed to be paving in May.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Dave,
Sure. I am in favor of having you complete the project. To Brian's point too, and we don't have a crystal ball, so we don't know when IDOT's going to move. And I'd like to. It's not my word, but I hear you guys. So I do have a couple of constituents who have driven down there and complained about it. So I think we should just get it done. So I would support that.
I'm just curious, do we have any legal recourse when IDOT doesn't honor a commitment like that? Is there anything we can do to influence them legally?
To this point, I don't believe that they've failed to honor their commitment yet. They still are just saying they are reviewing and will award when the review is complete. And so they're saying if we wait long enough, then they'll finish their review and they will either award to the low contractor or to the next low bidder. So they're still planning on providing this grant money to us. They just can't begin to tell us when.
I see.
And it could be that it shakes loose in 2 weeks. It could be that it shakes loose in May of next year. We just don't know.
And Alderman Newby question, if we do go ahead and pay for it ourselves and then is there any such thing as them retroactively helping us or paying for something else?
I don't believe so. It's such an unprecedented situation we could ask, but I would not believe so.
Okay.
A couple things. So obviously with this being in my ward, this is something that, within the past, 8-9 months, we get daily complaints, phone calls, all kind of things. So I'm definitely in support of us just getting the project done. And then I actually happen to deal with IDOT a decent amount in my personal life. They're way understaffed right now. They do not move fast for anybody. We saw how long it took them just to we've been waiting for the first request to be completed from IDOT. So at this juncture, I just don't think that we should put any faith in them to at least help out with this project. So with it being my ward, I would hope that everybody up here supports it getting completed. Thank you.
Dave, sorry.
Sorry, and I think you mentioned this, but just to confirm, the difference, that 160, that comes from the home rule tax, right?
Yes, that would come out of next year's road program.
And that's where my question was going, Chris. What percentage roughly is that out of next year's program? Is it a large percentage or is it pretty small?
No, it's a relatively small percentage of the program. So we'll have $1.5 million in MFT funds, and then we'll have the additional home rule tax fund on top of that. And so it's not an insignificant amount. You can do a lot with $160,000, but we'll still have a good-sized road program next year.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to go this way now.
I just have another question about the timing. So because we don't know if it could be 2 weeks, it could be, whenever, is there a specific timeline where if we wait? You know, I'm concerned about spending this money now, and then let's say they say in a month that they've released the contract. And now we've already committed to do this. We've now lost $550,000 that we could have spent on other projects within our city because we got very excited about doing this and taking care of it now and weren't willing to wait. Is there any benefit to us waiting another month, or is there a drop dead date essentially for us to hold on and hold out just a little bit longer? And again, I would press again to maybe ask for some help from some other legislators if possible.
The drop dead date, we can look at the construction timeline. I can talk to builders and see what they believe the timeline to be, and we can work backwards from when we can reasonably expect the weather to be good. Part of the reason that the pavement's in such bad shape is we were the last paving job of the year on Prairie last year. It was December 3rd or 4th, somewhere around there. And those are not good conditions to pave in. And so if we wait too long, we could end up in a situation where it's too cold to pave. And so our drop dead date would be determined by when we could reasonably expect to still have good weather for a quality product that we expect to last us for 20, 30 years.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess my frustration is kind of like everybody's up here in the group. We thought something was going to be moving along quicker, not knowing what the delay was, why the delay was, not knowing it wasn't in our control. I think if that could have been communicated to all of us better, I don't want to speak for anybody, I think that would have gone a long way. I appreciate what Alderperson Weber said about IDOT and they're behind too. I guess if we're going to approve something like this, I don't want to speak for everybody again, but my perception is, can this please be the priority and get started on like now? Because everyone will agree, it's an embarrassment. It's like you're the Flintstones driving down the road, and it's getting to the point where I'm hearing from it in our ward. You know, the 4th hearing from it. You know, the 5th hearing probably from it every day. Okay, it gets approved tonight. When do they start?
I already, when I spoke with builders and asked them if they would be willing to take this on, I told them this would become our priority project. They're already in town. They've got construction staff in town doing work for us right now, and they've got a number of different subs available to them, and so they wouldn't even have to pull off of the job that they're doing right now to prioritize this. But I let them know that we really want to get started on this as soon as possible.
Yeah, I would just hate for it to be like, no, they're going to go, and then the weather gets bad, and here we are again. So I guess if this is something we are approving for the amount of money we are approving, I would hope it would take like main priority to get done, so mainly the city that street can get back to normal, but other things then can move forward. That's
certainly, and it would be our main project. Yes.
Okay.
So you said that Elgin is currently dealing with something exactly the same, or with the same grant?
Yes, same grant, same contractor, and they're also sitting.
So with that being said, is it reasonable then to infer that, and if nothing's moving in Elgin, where they would go first, I imagine, before they would even consider releasing any funds to us?
I think they would release, if and when it gets released, it would all get released at a similar time. I don't think that we would see it released to Elgin and Aurora, and then months later, I think they would release in mass, and so I don't think that would delay us.
Have you talked to your counterpart up there? They're not confident?
I've talked to them in Aurora, and they don't have any clue either. IDOT has never spoken to them about this. I was actually the one who informed them as to what was going on, because they hadn't heard anything. But the difference between them and us is their street is just one that needs resurfacing in the normal course of business. And so it's not such an urgent priority, not gaining so much attention as Prairie is. So they were fine with whatever IDOT's timeline was.
I would like to make a motion to locally fund the Prairie Street resurfacing project, and I would encourage all of you to support me as well.
Second.
Any other questions? Comments? No? All right, so we have a motion by Steve, seconded by Bob. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 All right, that passes. Thank you. Moving on to item 5F, we have a presentation on the water and wastewater master plan. Good evening, Mr. Wilson.
Good evening. Give me just 2 seconds, Jim. Okay. Well, thank you. This evening, I'll start on the presentation of the 2024 Water and Wastewater Master Plan. This presentation is a plan that kind of go over several government service meetings that kind of provide you with just an overview of the two utilities. Tonight's agenda is really to discuss about our plan, presentations moving forward, a little bit of background and purpose of the master plan, scope and organization of the two plans, a quick introduction of the water and wastewater utilities, where you can find the master plans, and any questions you may have. Moving forward, this evening, obviously, we're here in June, so it's just a quick introduction of the water and wastewater master plan, section 1. In July, we'll be talking about the community needs of the water and wastewater system. August, we'll be talking about water distribution, storage, wastewater collection, and associated lift stations. September, we'll be talking about existing water and wastewater treatment plants. It's more of how much water we have available and the quality. And in October, we'll be kind of starting to wrap that up as far as what we can look for additional treatment, additional regulations related to drinking water and wastewater treatment. And then we'll wrap up the entire master plan with an overview and probably a lead line replacement update at that time also. Just a quick background, master plans, utility plans are completed about every 5 to 10 years. Last wastewater plan was completed in 2015. The primary focus was phosphorus removal, an EPA mandate at the main wastewater facility and the West plant. Also, the West plant was in need of expansion to support development. Those are two major projects that actually were completed. 2018, the water utility master plan was completed, and this focus was on water quality and quantity. A lot of our work over the last several years includes a couple of government service items. Tonight is basically surrounded by how much water we have. The purpose of this plan is really a management and planning document. It's really the 30,000-foot document that kind of guides the city council, guides the city administration, and our team to kind of what's the best steps moving forward for the two utilities. It looks at the community's current needs and future needs as far as how much water we have available. That's not quality, that's more quantity. And then it also evaluates existing capital infrastructure. We do look at water quality later in the plan. There's always that question that comes up when we do these plans of, we like soft water or other mandates, so that is covered, and we will talk about that during our presentations. Again, it provides a roadmap for future capital investments, and it ties to like the rate study right now we're completing. So that way the rate study team can look at, what are our long-term capital investments over the next 5 or 10 years? What do our rates need to be to help support those capital investments? And it's actually required, both the master plans require for Illinois loan funding qualification. We actually get some additional points for having this master plan completed, so that way we can qualify for additional EPA loans. First, the water plan. So both plans were completed by Trotter and Associates engineering team. Both plans are very similar. They're two separate documents. First of all, the water master plan provides a quick introduction, again, community needs, distribution system, distribution alternatives, water treatment supply, storage, and other alternatives. It provides a quick recommendation and summary at the end. These documents are quite large. That's why we actually separate the two of them. Come on.
The wastewater section is fairly similar, a little bit of terminology difference, besides, distribution system, we look at lift stations, and because we have two major wastewater facilities, it kind of takes a deeper dive into the complex, wastewater treatment side. And you'll notice too, if you look at the master plan, because of the discharge to the river and how that's mandated, it actually has environmental impacts too, in the last section. Just some quick facts about the water system. Our water system, St. Charles, established in 1907. It provides service for the city corporate limits, but it also provides service for outside our city corporate limits. It provides service to the King County complex, state of Illinois complex, unincorporated areas, and we actually sell water to Illinois American Water. In general, we have 4 shallow wells. We have 3 deep wells. Actually, with one of them, another deep well on the approval on government services tonight. We have 3 water treatment facilities. System-wide, on average, we produce about 4.5 million gallons per day, and a maximum day about just under 9 million gallons per day. The water distribution system really is comprised of 2 zones, an inner and outer zone, and we have some additional facts here about our water distribution system. And a lot of this will really, when we go through the master plans, we'll start to dive into a bunch of the details. Just our general service area for the city of St. Charles. You notice that what this map provides an illustration of our boundary of where all our water goes. The pink areas are actually the unincorporated areas we provide service to. There's some areas that are in orange and green in the bottom left-hand corner. Those are the King County complex and state complexes. You'll notice way at the top, that is a light, smaller area of blue. That's actually the Illinois American Water section. We provide them water with a master meter, and then they supply water to other customers in the subdivision up there. Additional, a little more information, high-level information about the water system area. We have really 2 major zones. And when we really start to talk about where we drill wells and our water quality sections, is where we'll really start to dive deep into some of this. But there's an outer zone and an inner zone, and each star provides a location where our major complexes and structures are, wells or towers. Our wastewater system was established until 1920s. Service area, the EPA looks at more of an acreage area, just over 10,000 acres we provide service to. We have 2 major wastewater plants. Wastewater treatment facility at Riverside, the main campus at Public Works. It provides an average, we treat an average 5 million gallons of sewage every day. During wet weather events, we've seen the flows coming out of the facility are greater than 21 million gallons per day. The west plant is located off of Route 38 on the west side of the community. It's a smaller facility. It only averages about 500,000 gallons per day with a max flow of just over 1 million gallons per day. Again, there's some additional information about our sewer collection system, just some general facts. As far as the wastewater service area, we have two major service areas, a little bit different than the water map. The area in orange is the main plant. It provides service to most of the community. It's really a dividing line is Randall Road. Is kind of near that blue, where that blue and that orange intersects. There's actually a ridge out there. That's why we have 2 wastewater plants. We have most of the flow goes down to the main plant. It's on the east side of Randall Road. And once you get to the west side of Randall Road, it starts to flow to the west side plant. Really, that's it. This evening, we're just kind of going to keep it high level, and then the meetings moving forward, we'll start to dive into some of the other sections. That's going to take a lot longer. Again, really, next month, we'll be talking about community needs. So that's really what's our current capacity, how much water we're pumping out, what's our projected growth, what does that look like for the wastewater and the water systems. That's where we'll really be concentrating next month. The master plans themselves are actually on our website. I apologize, we didn't provide them as part of this, part of their attachments, but like I said, they're fairly large, so actually it became a little bit of an issue. So it's easier if you go to the website and pull them off our website. We provide a link where they can be found. If you go to that webpage, on the right-hand side, there's going to be key documents, and there's 2 plans that are going to be listed there, and you can pull them up for this if you want to review them. Is there any questions?
Many.
Could you send me or everyone the link? Can you email it, because it's tough to find things on our website?
Yep.
If you don't mind, appreciate it. Yep.
Send it to Brian. Send it to everybody else.
Yep.
Anybody else? No? So, do you want to skip to the next one, or are you okay for some of the questions before we get to the next?
Next agenda.
Because they're tied.
It's up to you.
All right, so, just can you talk a little bit about, I guess I'll start, what does it mean when we say we are under capacity by 970,000 gallons per day?
That means, we'll get into this a lot in section 5, probably a little more in September, but really at the end of the day, the EPA holds us to the number where, with our largest well offline, we have to have so much capacity. We do not meet that number. We've been working over the last 6 years, since the last master plan and several other projects to kind of eat away at that number. So, we've approved several other projects to increase capacity in other parts of town. The project we're talking about tonight, the last notice approval, is again another project that again makes up that difference. So that way we're starting to eat away at that capacity. A challenge, we have is obviously while we're continuing to make small steps and kind of continue to increase our capacity, we also have development continue to grow too, and our communities continue to grow. So we are making it up, but we also in this project, in the master plan, this new master plan, you'll see additional projects in the future that will help us, continue to make up that deficit.
So the capacity is what is if I'm hearing you correctly, it's like a casino. It's the money you have to have, on hand to operate, and then but it's the level at what they say we should be at, and as we continue to grow, and that level shrinks, we're under capacity. But I think I've heard from some people that, the fear, like, I'm not going to turn on my, faucet, it's not going to come, but we're eating into that number based on how we're growing.
On the drinking water side, yes,
right.
You're correct.
Okay.
It's how much water we can push out to meet that hot weather demand with one well out of service.
Okay. Any other? Nope. All right. So then we'll move on to item 5G, which is a recommendation to approve a resolution authorizing a notice of award for the raw water line and well site development project.
If you don't mind, I would like to just talk about all 3 of them together. Is that okay?
Is there any objection?
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so we brought this to City Council before. We did a notice of intent to award for all 3 projects. Again, just to kind of recap, this is 3 different construction jobs. One is to drill a well, that'd be phase 1. Second one is to complete a raw water line for where we drill the well to the new treatment facility. And the third phase is to rehab the existing treatment facility so we can leverage some available capacity. Basically rehab those filters so that we can then treat that new raw water that's coming from that new well. This is all EPA funded. So as part of the process, we go out to bid, we send all the construction documents down to the EPA, they review the documents, they will let us know first of all, they will approve the contractors, and they will provide us with loan funding. Over the last 30 days, we've heard back verbally from the EPA and via email that we will be receiving those loans. They are just a little bit delayed trying to wrap up paperwork because they're kind of a little bit overwhelmed right now. So all we're doing tonight is getting our notice to approve for all 3 projects. So once the loan documents and construction documents come back, we can sign them and start our conversation with the contractors. Any questions about any of the 3 projects?
Go ahead.
On 5H, for the drilling, well drilling. Your proposed cost is 1.5 million and you budgeted 3.3 million.
Yep.
It's a big difference. Why is that?
Well, I mean, there's only 3 well drillers in the area. We consulted with several of the well drillers prior to going out to bid. We received, some estimates of what the project was going to be, and that's what we budgeted. One of the well drillers, the one well driller that gave us one price, they didn't bid it, and there's 2 well drillers that came in, they were well underneath that number.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about the terms of the IEPA loans and how those are funded?
But can you clarify your?
So they are no interest loans, right?
No, there is interest. It's very low interest. That's part of the response we'll receive back. Last year, it was 1.6%. I don't know what the percentage is going to be for this year's loan funding. They haven't released that, so when we get all the documents back, we'll see. Usually, it's going to be within that range of 2% to 1.6. I'm not sure, Bill. You want to provide what's normal bonding percentage or any other?
Normal bonding percentages right now is around 3.8 or 3.9, so definitely a much better rate than bond. And those IEP loans for 20 years.
Yeah.
So is that the most cost-effective way to go to market for projects like this? I mean, I get why you'd want to go through IEP, I can't say that, because the guaranteed loan, but looking at the rates, looking at that, is that the most for a 20-year loan at 3%, these types of projects, just out of curiosity?
Yes, it is. 3% was that bonded rate, so our IEP loans come in much lower than that. Sometimes they're down to that 1.5%.
Any questions? Yeah.
Go ahead, Tim.
So I am curious, and kind of thinking back to the presentation that you did about the long-term plans. You said that those are done about every 5 to 10 years. And maybe you're going to talk about it in some of the future presentations, but what I don't see in there are any, any information about water conservation or other opportunities to avoid having to drill new wells, or ways that we can save, different ways to save money from having to do the construction, to have to build more infrastructure, because while we have had some homes built and some small developments built, we really haven't increased our population. So I guess that's where my question is what are we increasing that well for if we haven't increased the population, and what are we dumping all of that tax money into the infrastructure for if we have the opportunity to perhaps conserve, if that's an option? And I know that's a long-term goal where you can't just start doing that today and have it pay off, but are those things that we look at? Do we have the opportunity to be creative in those ways?
So yeah, let me touch a little bit on water conservation. So the city has always been played an active role in water conservation. There's actually this part of CMAP, the overall planning group for the entire kind of region. There's this subgroup that's called Northeast Planning Commission, and then we just look at drinking water. And we talk about water wells and how much water is available in our aquifers. So about 4 years ago, we took the recommendation and updated our ordinances on some water conservation factors. So it was like, making some recommendations on, maybe some rates, how rates can help, per water usage, but more of, educating the public or putting information out there as far as, hey, don't water your garden, at the hot part, like right now, maybe wait for the evening, or, water your lawns every other day, or avoid putting sod down. So a lot of that stuff we've already incorporated. We were a part of that group, so we've already taken those steps. Another part of that too is controlled by the plumbing codes and building codes. So over the last several years, the plumbing codes have made a lot of changes to reduce the amount of water used, for your faucets. Sometimes it's probably frustrating. You get a brand new faucet, you get less flow out of it, but that's because of new plumbing codes. You go to a commercial building, you're seeing a lot more of those automatic flushers. That's all part of the new plumbing code. So all that is a conservation effort to reduce the amount of water we have. One thing you got to remember is we've been in this water deficit for a while, so we've always been trying to make this up. So instead of trying to get too many projects done, and the other issue is these projects take coordination. Because we're a little bit light on water capacity, we can only pull one well off at a time to be able to rehab it or be able to have a larger construction project to increase its capacity. So that's why we've been kind of spreading this out to take these smaller steps to slowly make up our deficit.
And if I can add one more comment on that, Alderperson Munns, I'm sorry that I know I didn't get back to you on your question after we connected on it. I did share it with Director Stewart as well. And what we have strategized to do is also develop a plan over this coming fiscal year to talk about more concentrated conservation efforts as well in tandem with some of these things. And obviously we're in that deficit now and we have to make that up, and that's going to take some time to pay off. But I think in tandem with that, we can incorporate some of those strategies that are those long-term efforts that are a little bit further than we've gone to this point.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate both of those answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Bongard. Tim, how does this affect or help or hurt the main trunk line that we, rejected the bid on, the $12 million, we thought it was going to be $7 million or whatever. Now that we're going to be adding more water to the system, obviously I know that we still have to figure that part out.
Two different things. So, so this trunk main and the sewer capacity that we need there is more of a regional issue for that area that it feeds and the developments or proposed developments it feeds. The water capacity is citywide. It's not that we're not pushing out more water, we're just making sure our capacity can meet the city's demands. So as the city demands continue to grow, we need to make sure we have enough water available to match those demands. Yeah, as the city grows, obviously there'll be more water usage, but it's in that region. It depends on where the development is.
I just saw Couch Road, and I'm like, that's exactly where the other one, Okay, thank you.
So Tim, thanks all very much. So sorry, the numbers guy. So as we look at all three of these together, as we've been putting this whole plan together for well number 8, so originally estimated, I believe, correct me, Director Hanna, at like $17.5 million.
So this is just a construction portion of your loan.
Okay.
All right, there's other portions of the loan that are related. So you have engineering that's inside that loan. You have, once we receive the loan documents back from the EPA, they add on a contingency that they want, and they will add on a construction period interest that they're going to want. We don't know those exact numbers till we come back. Since we're only approving construction projects, I wanted to relate it and just show you the construction portion of the loan.
Okay. So the other cost hopefully will be less than right now our $5 million delta, which would be great for savings for us, for even at the low-term interest rate, not having to pay as much back in principal would be great. So thank you, Tim.
Anyone else? I'm looking for a motion for 5G.
Move to 3.
Second.
Moved by Bob, second by Brian. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 All right, that one passes. So we're going to read in 5H, and then if anybody has any last-minute questions, then we'll vote on that one. We're looking 5H, a recommendation to approve a resolution authorizing a notice of award for the well drilling and development project.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved by Brian, second by Ed. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Great. Item 5I, a recommendation to approve a resolution authorizing a notice of award for the well number 8 water treatment plant rehabilitation.
Whoever will move.
Second.
Moved by Steve, second by Vicki. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 All right, all three of those pass. That brings us to item 5J. We're looking for a recommendation to approve a resolution awarding the bid for a 3-year parkway tree planting program. Good evening, AJ.
Good evening.
Good evening,
I'm batting closer today. I'll try to be quick. Each year we plant trees in the spring and fall to replace those that have been removed due to weather events, disease or infestation, or significant trauma that the tree may have suffered. We recently issued a bid for a 3-year parkway tree planting program. So it's kind of 6 individual programs, spring and fall, for 3 years. We received 4 bids to that solicitation, with Yellowstone Landscape, locally of Roselle, being the lowest responsible bidder. Yellowstone was our current bidder up to this point for the previous 3-year contract, and they were also recently awarded a landscape and mowing contract with the city. We found them to be responsive and helpful in all our dealings with them. We anticipate about 350 trees per year based on how many need to be removed in the contract. Happy to answer any questions.
I'm just curious, how does it work where you decide where to plant the trees? Do residents call and request, or do you drive around and?
So we try to do a 1-for-1 replacement. If we take a tree out for whatever reason in front of a resident, if there is a viable planting site adjacent to their property, they will get that tree. If for whatever reason, be it a sidewalk moves or the standard has changed in the last 50 years for how close we plant to hardscapes or fire hydrants, things like that, then we will move the tree to a different location based on resident request.
Sure.
So I am not a tree expert, but I was contacted by a resident who saw the agenda, and they're concerned that some of these, or they said a lot of the trees that they saw on that list were not native, and they were curious why we were choosing non-native trees, because they felt that those would not necessarily, they would require more care and would not live as long and would require more frequent replacement, and I didn't know if they had some insight into that.
So a big part of our program is focusing on diversity, so we don't end up with another ash tree problem where a quarter of our trees are wiped out by one disease or bug. So we're focusing on getting a lot kind of spread out. We have 63 trees in the bid. Realistically, some of those are conifers. They're not going in parkways. They might go in open public spaces, but they're not necessarily all parkway trees. But say 55 of them are. Each program isn't going to have 55 different trees in it. We're probably going to focus on a dozen or so different varieties per season. See what the nurseries have available, because that's the other big thing is when you're buying 350 trees or 200 trees in a shot, getting good nursery stock is becoming more and more problematic. We're ahead of the curve when it comes to the ash replacements. A lot of communities are still catching up. Getting the 2.5-inch stock, which used to be the industry standard, we're now seeing 2-inch for a lot of these trees. We call it a lot of maples. We're not trying to plant maples. They are a heavily requested tree because they're pretty and they grow fast. But we do have a lot of maples in town, so we're trying to cover our bases with this bid, I guess is the long story short, because we do get a lot of special requests. We are trying to be diverse in what we're planting, but we do recognize that natives have their advantages, and we certainly want to plant those.
That's great. Thank you.
I just want to say we've been Tree City USA for 27 years. I definitely want to support us, make this a 28, so I like this program. Until Bob, I'd like to make a motion to approve, but I'll let Bob talk.
No, my question is since Yellowstone is planting them and dealing with Wasco Nursery, so if they plant them, is there a guarantee for the trees when they put them in?
Sorry, I mentioned we have a 2-year warranty with them as well.
So Yellowstone plants them and it goes bad in 2 years, they will replace it with the like kind, so.
Correct.
That was my question.
And if a resident has an issue, they're still supposed to go through Public Works, or do they go to, you still want them going to Public Works?
Our staff will respond.
Gotcha. All right, so we have a motion by Steve, second by Bob. Roll call, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, that one passes. Thank you, which brings us to item 6, public comment. Good evening, just your name.
Pardon?
Just your name.
Just my name?
Just your name.
No comment?
Wow.
Okay, I'm
attach the comment to the name. Right.
I'm Hewlett Fruger. And I have 3 things that I want to say to the City Council about the IMEA deliberations. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for not signing the new contracts by April 2025. Thank you for appointing a task force to help gather and sort through information. And thank you for hiring a consultant to work with you and to gather more information and data. This gives you more time and more information, the two things that have always been needed. I know that you will listen carefully with an open mind to all new ideas and information you are given. I know that you will ask a million questions to be sure that you're understanding the nuances, and I know that you will not be swayed by outside voices that may or may not know what they're talking about. So thank you so much for all the time and effort you have put into considering this new IMEA contract. I don't know if you remember my little story about the tale of two towns the last time I was up here, but I am very glad that St. Charles City Council will be able to honestly say to its citizens, we made the best choice for our town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Going once, going twice? Go ahead.
Hi, everybody, Steve Leffler. Master Poe said, patience, young grasshopper. You guys remember that from Kung Fu?
No.
We got $415,000 on the line here because we're not having enough patience. We're not telling we're getting a little antsy when people are asking us about Prairie Avenue. And there's a lot of roads in Illinois that are way worse than Prairie Avenue. Street. We could hold off a little bit. We could wait 2 months. You know, paving continues into December and until the asphalt plants close. We could still reasonably expect to do some paving in November. If you told your constituents, if they were giving you a little heat on it, and you said to them, hey, you know what? We're trying to save ourselves $400,000. Can we wait for a few weeks? Can we wait for a few months? See what happens with down in Springfield? Be all right to do that. You know, they'd probably understand if you just gave them that little piece of information. But not a lot of people have that. Not everybody comes to these things. So, also good to hear that maybe we'll have some patience on on the well. I know we don't want to spend, we don't want to have enough water. That's not that's important that we have enough water coming through the taps, but well, it's $17.5 million, and we're already $1.25 million each month in what we pay to service our debt. Taking on more debt is, not in our best financial health. So if we can keep pumping the water and we can keep sending enough water to the taps to cover our needs, maybe we can conserve our way out of this. So, and also patience, young grasshopper, thank you for taking your time on IMEA. And I hope the gentleman who's here can help everybody find the answers that we need on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any additional items from council or staff? No? Beth?
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So I was curious if we have received any updates on the timing of the work on the crosswalks for Main and Kirk from IDOT.
They called pre-construction meetings, but I've not received a timeline for that project yet. So it is moving forward, but then.
Okay, thank you on that one. And then I understand from Director Sewer that we unfortunately did not get awarded the grant for the safety improvements on that corridor of Dunham, Foxfield, and Kirk, and I was wondering if we had any timeline on when we might be getting any other presentations or plans for what we might be doing about the safety issues in that area.
Yeah, we were actually going to provide you an update this Friday. We're working on that right now, so give us another few days and we can put that together for you.
Okay, fantastic.
Sure.
Thank you. And I also was curious about the Housing Commission had intended to come back to us with some information about, and I know that Director Colby isn't here, but was going to come back to us with some information about the affordable housing plan, and I don't know if that is still,
Yeah, that's one for Director Colby, and I can check in with him and get back to you on that.
Okay. And then I just wanted to send one more thank you out to Acting Chief Majewski, Director Gunderson, and City Administrator McGuire for quickly acting on the question that I had about the solicitors. I'm only bringing it up again because I've gotten a few phone calls and messages from residents thanking me for having that information out there. I've had a couple who said they didn't even know that we had a policy or a process for getting people approved, and one who said that she's actually used it a couple of times now to see who is actually approved and called 911 on somebody that didn't belong at the door, and she just feels safer in her house knowing that she has that list to look at to see who should be actually knocking on her door. So I just wanted to thank you for making that fast change, and it had a very fast impact on residents, and it's little things like that that make people feel like we care about them. So thank you.
Just a comment about what Jamie said about the solicitors. A few years ago, I had a solicitor come to my door arguing with me about a permit. I called 911 and they got them. I watched the police go right up the street and get them. So my point is, it does work if you call 911 to a solicitor.
So just one comment. We started the meeting talking about the timeline for IMEA and pretending for a moment that nobody else is here and I'm just talking to the 10 of us. It is an aggressive timeline. And looking at where we are in the calendar, given, travel, summer things, I know we can't meet, well, I should say not that we can't meet at the 10 of us, but I would just encourage everybody to do whatever you need to do individually, the conversations, the meetings. We are going to do our very best to provide as much information and continue to peel away at this onion, but I would just encourage, Brian and I have had many conversations, sitting in a lot of meetings, but the hope is, as we are traveling here over the next 6-7 weeks, that we can come to some sort of decision point, whatever that might be. So take advantage of it, because I know the next time we blink, it will be the end of July. You will be staring at August. So with that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned.